I start? Okay. Welcome to ACC Gallery Weimar. And a warm welcome to Marialuisa Capurso from Bari, Italy, main capital of Apulia? Yeah. And now you're here. So Marialuisa, I start to introduce you, is many things. She's singer, sound and visual artist, composer and performer. And her work is obviously multidisciplinary. She focuses on connection between voice, body, breath, sound, field recordings, sound poetry, listening, movement, and improvisation. She investigates and explores the realm of acoustic sounds and electronic interfaces as extension of human voice. And now, she's the second and current artist in residence of the Radio Art Residency here in Weimar. The Radio Art Residency is an international fellowship program for artistic practice on the radio. The residency is a joint project by the Goethe Institute, an experimental radio at Bauhaus University Weimar, in cooperation with University of Music Franz Liszt, Deutschlandfunk Kultur, Radio Lotte, Galerie Eigenheim Weimar, and ACC Gallery. Marialuisa Capurso will talk about her current artistic process, which is called Rubedo, with a subtitle, I like the subtitle very much, is Allow, Enlarge, Create, and it's anti-patriarchal form and intent. This work and process is mainly about creative spaces, free of oppressive rules, structures, and strategies in society where we are all continuously asked to be productive and efficient. Her research aims to investigate and enlarge spaces as listening, creation, and sharing. Tonight, she invites 3 other artists to be part of this discussion and share their artistic practices formed by and in dialogue with anti-patriarchal aspirations. I would like to welcome the participants of tonight's talks who will join us via Zoom. This is Tita Tumilo and Mariana Fumai from your hometown, Bari, and Leo Kai from London. So we are really international tonight. And now I hand over the word to you. So it's your night, your talk.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to have you here and curious about what's going to happen this evening.
Me too. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you for being here. And yes, I'm going to a little bit to introduce the process I'm doing here in Weimar in the Radio Art Residency. And it is a complex process because it is structured in many layers. And it is called Rubedo, as Rubedo is one of the stages of the alchemical process of the individuation of the self, as Jung called these stages, and Nigredo, Albedo, Rubedo are the 3 main stages to represent this process. And I thought that it could be very interesting for me to connect my practice with alchemy. I'm researching in the alchemical process, and I'm very interested in connections between spirituality, between elements, and also social topics, like this one that I'm bringing, which is patriarchy. And I invited tonight 3 friends of mine. They are fantastic artists, and I thought that I wanted to invite them because I thought it was important to share and to present together how we collaborate, how we bring our attempt to change some things, to break patterns, how we bring this through artistic practices. And I thought about Marianna and Tita and Leo, and they are working in 3 singular directions, but in the same topic. Marianna is working, she's a video photographer. She just worked on this documentary called Sisters, and you will see she chose for us a little part of the documentary, and about abortion and about how difficult it can be for us as women to have our rights. In Italy, in Poland, and in Malta. She was investigating these 3 places. And then I invited Tita. She is a co-director of a international gender festival in Bari, and she also works with this topic. And for me it's interesting, and it's very important that we can do this kind of practices in places like Italy, southern Italy, where it is very important to name the problem, to make it clear. And I will tell you more about it. And then I also invited Leo from London, and I love his work, and I thought that it was also interesting to invite a man to be part of this discussion, because we generally think that patriarchy is something about the domination of the man, because of course patriarchy means the male power on female, but it is not like this. Like we will see more, we will see together how it can be. And I really like Leo's work. One of his projects, I was in Bari, and he was bringing one of his workshops called Bakery of Slow Ideas. We spent one day all together with other people and working. I mean, he will tell us, but it was we were working with bread, with the sourdough, and we were together having this process. But he will tell us. And so I'm happy that they accepted this invitation, because I feel that we are together presenting something, since I think patriarchy is not an easy topic to bring. It is not easy. I can see how not comfortable from this experience that I'm having here, how not comfortable are the people when I bring this topic. I remember the first day, also, like we were talking about what patriarchy can mean, and sometimes, like in Italy, in southern Italy, patriarchy, the presence of patriarchy is very visible. There are, like, it is visible, the inequality between women and men. It is, yeah, really visible. But in some other places, like, for example, Germany, then, it is more subtle, I think. These dynamics are more are hidden. This is what I'm experiencing, and this is what I am observing. And I would like to, then we will talk about it, we will discuss, and we will see things we will discuss with the other artists. But I would like just to share some experience and to say how patriarchy can be a topic so present, like we learn our gender roles, we learn it in school, in families. And I just remember, today I was thinking about like what I'm going to talk, because even if it's my research, sometimes I need to focus. I am in this process just inside, working with people. We are doing a process with people from the university, and then I'm doing some performances and working also with a group online, and then radio program, of course. It is about radio and how to connect together all these practices. And today I was thinking about how patriarchy and all these patterns were so present in my life. And I remembered one episode when I was 14, that I remember this thing that my sister, I lost my dad when I was 11. And I remember I was 14, my sister came one day and she said to me, my friends say to me that you are a bitch. And because you are nice. You are nice to men, you are nice to all the boys. And this thing hurt me a lot, of course. It hurt me. I felt this feeling of shame, a shame. And I was feeling very hurt. And because since my father was dead, all the men of the family or all the friends of my sister, they were feeling legitimated to cover my father's role. And so today I was thinking about how the oppression was so present in my life. And of course, if I'm doing this practice, I'm bringing this, it is very personal for me. It is coming from something that I really experienced. And that's why I have this deep connection with this topic. And Rubedo is now a second step here in Weimar. The first part of Rubedo was a composition that I made for Generations FM Festival in Weimar. I was asked to make a composition for this radio festival, and I thought that it was a good chance to send this message through a composition. So I collected 20 voices of women, a choir of compassion, I like to call it this way. I made an open call and I asked some women to send their words, their experiences about oppression of patriarchy. And they sent me some vocal messages, some text. Some of them sent me some paintings. And then I collected these voices, which were very intense and hard also for me to go through. And then I put them into this composition. Then if anybody of you wants to listen to it, I will give you the link to listen when you want. And this was a first step And I had this vision at the beginning that Rubedo was this stage of sublimation, because I think that art let us, like, give us this opportunity to sublimate things, to transform them. So I thought this can be a good way to transform something that it is so hard for me to keep it inside. And so Rubedo was, yes, this sublimation. And then after this first experience with the composition, which took me, actually, after the composition, I needed 1 month at least to digest it. It was very strong. I felt powerless. I felt that it was so hard and intense to have this with me, all these voices. And then I thought that it was important to continue, to go on, that I had this responsibility, but not responsibility, but I had this in my hand, in my body. Okay, I have to continue and to transform this process, to see how it will become. And so now I'm here for this work in the radio, and I also think radio, as I said yesterday, we had this talk also in Limona, in the University of Media Art, and we had this Radiogespräch where I talked more about listening practices, and about how radio can be important, and can be important also to spread a message and to listen to what we compose, and to listen, to have this imaginary audience. And so now I am in this stage where I am just full in. And so there are moments of discomfort, there are moments of, like, nigredo, the darkness of things that are coming, and there are moments also of awareness, and awareness is very important. And so I think I'm happy that here we have some meetings and we can talk about it, because one step to subvert the pattern of patriarchy is to talk about it, to name it, because I think it is necessary to talk about what patriarchy means, and to recognize how was, for example, how were these patterns in our families, in school. And so, yes, I think now I will invite Marianna to share also her practice. And yes, I'm not that used to do this talk, and so sometimes things come to me and windows open in my mind. I'm really overwhelmed sometimes. But yes, I invite Marianna Fumai. As I said before, she's a video photographer, film editor with, I will read, with a special focus on documentary with social impact. She's also an activist and working on Sisters, a documentary about sisterhood and women and non-binary people's reproductive rights in Italy, Malta, and Poland. So, Marianna, we will first share the teaser of your documentary and one part that you choose of your documentary. 2021, and what do I expect? I expect history to be made. It's the first ever rally of its kind in Malta. There's going to be a lot of energy, maybe some frictionless energy from the pro-lifers, but I'm still excited nonetheless.
For male, for female, for intersex, for people of all genders, it is a human right.
A campaign for abortion without borders has launched. So this is going to be the phone where people can call from Poland, basically to be to ask for an abortion, and then they will be directed to different groups, either us as Anna or Tata Basha in Berlin, or to Women Group Women.
Obiezione respinta è un progetto di mappatura di medici, ospedali e farmacisti obiettivi. Abbiamo anche un numero di telefono di emergenza che è attivo 24 ore su 24 e anche in questo è aperto a tutte le persone che magari hanno bisogno appunto di dire vorrei abortire, non so cosa fare, sono andata in un ospedale e mi hanno sbattuto la porta in faccia, ora che faccio?
L'aborto è una delle operazioni più performate al mondo, ma nonostante questo in tantissimi paesi è negato l'accesso all'aborto libero e sicuro, ed è per questo che questa associazione fornisce pacchetti abortivi. Le persone che scrivono dall'Italia sono di molti tipi.
We are not even like a legal organization, you know, like we are just women who do this voluntarily, you know. I mean, which also takes a lot of our free time, you know, but it's really nice work, you know. So, and you learn a lot about life and about people, you know. So it's also, it is a work that connects you to life, you know. And I really want to emphasize this because everybody, you know, like pro-lifers always want to show, or I would say people who are against abortion always want to connect abortion to like death and destruction, you know, and it's like evil and horrible and sadness and all this, you know. But I think they are the ones who make it like this, you know what I mean? Also, and we want to show, no, like abortion access is about health, is about freedom, is about being good to each other, because, you know, helping women means like helping people who know what they need and to make really responsible, very responsible decisions for them and also for their families, you know. Because I think it's also very important to emphasize that the most women who have abortions are already mothers, you know. And I find this super, super important for people to understand that it's a responsible decision also for the families women have already, because they know how much capacity they need for another child, you know, when they have 1 or 2 children already, or 3 and 4, you know. Because they know what it means to have a child. And this is why they, you know they don't want to take away more money, more time, more love from the children they already have. And this is why they sometimes terminate another pregnancy. I think what people really have to understand is that if you stigmatize abortion, you stigmatize all kind of women's health, you know. And this has really a bad impact on like health in general of women, you know, because if you stigmatize abortion, that always goes along with kind of a very, you know, like hidden agenda, you know, what women can be, what they shouldn't be, how to deal with sexuality, with shame and guilt, you know. And this is also why you can see definitely that in countries where abortion is illegal, these are also the countries where there are the most abortions. you know, which for me is totally clear, because it just means that when you stigmatize abortion, you also stigmatize contraception and sexual education, because there's a general, you know, shame and guilt frame around these kind of topics of women's health and women's sexuality and women's bodies, you know. As if I would have an abortion, I think I would use the abortion pill, you know, from all what I see and hear, you know. And when I say it's a blessing, you know, it's really because it makes abortion widely accessible, you know. Also, like, for example, in settings where, you know, doctors don't want to perform it, you know, or there is not like a safe clinical setting, because you need really sterilized instruments in order to do a surgical abortion, you know. You need anesthesia, you know. With the abortion pill, you can basically do it everywhere. There are groups in Poland, women's groups, and they make it with the abortion pill themselves. So, for example, you have 2-3 women with an unwanted pregnancy coming together, sharing this time and experience on a weekend and doing it together. You know, also when I was hearing about this group of women who was doing it themselves, you know, I also thought, okay, people love to say, you know, that abortion is such a difficult experience of women, you know, like, and it's so, like, you know, traumatic and traumatizing, you know. But then I think, okay, if you really think that, then you would have to fight for that women can do it on their own terms, that women can do it in a nice setting, like really organize it in a way that feels good for them, you know. So why don't you, you know? So why is it so normal for people that, you know, we have to put it in this totally, like, sterilized, unemotional clinical setting where women are judged, you know, where women are treated not well, where women, you know, get the feeling they're doing something wrong and they're alone, they cannot really talk about how they feel, you know, and, you know, where people enjoy to put in women's heads, you know, ideas about they're killing their child, you know, and all this kind of really psychological pressure. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I know that there's a lot of also, like, weird ideas about anarchism, you know, but I think Georgia Basha, the work, made me really be again like a true anarchist, you know, because I really trust humanity, that you can, you know, work it out with each other without hierarchies, you know, and without rulers, you know, without politicians who tell you what to do, you know, but you can really organize it yourself for the people who are concerned directly, you know, and not just like somebody makes decision for somebody else, you know. So I think I like this idea also very much about that, you know, that for me Georgia Basha is an anarchist organization, you know, and I love that because for me it's about really love and care.
I would like to invite now Marianna to share some words about her practice. And Marianna, are you there? Sei lì? Maybe you have to open the audio of Marianna. Marianna? Marianna? Ok, she's there. She's there.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now yes. Sì, possiamo sentire.
Because I can't hear you.
Ah. No, it's not from me that it depends. Like, I don't have to change. Tu puoi sentirci? Can you hear us? No. But we checked before. Marianna?
Yeah, I can hear you on YouTube.
Let me just send a message to her. And we don't mind if there are some technical problems. Ah, they can hear. Leo said we can hear you, Marianna. Ah, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
yes.
Only Marianna cannot hear us.
Marianna can. Io non sento voi. Oh, weird. And the other, Leo, you can hear me, right? Yes. So maybe what shall we do? Let's see. Maybe I can ask her to get out. Marianna, prova ad uscire e a rientrare. Ah, yes. It's patriarchy rebelling. And I think I actually believe it that every time talking about this dark container, it creates discomfort like a beast. And I'm just okay. Can
I can't hear you. You can hear me?
yes. You can? Puoi o no?
Mari,
Non senti? Okay, yes.
Marialuisa, can you hear me?
Sì.
Before, during the screening of the video,
You could hear.
Yes, I listened, but now I can listen anything, and also before.
Ah. Okay, and yes, I don't know how to manage this.
I can, if you want, I can tell something. Okay. Okay. Hello everybody, and thanks for this moment. I'm Marianna, and I'm a trans-feminist activist, intersectional trans-feminist activist, and also I am a videographer. And I believe that audiovisual should be a tool to bring out problems in our societies. So in 2017, I had the idea of this project about abortion, this documentary about abortion, after the death of a woman in Italy. She was at 5 months pregnant and she needed an abortion. But all the doctors in the hospital were conscientious objectors. So they it is that doctors can refuse to perform an abortion according to their I was a mother since 10 months and was still very clear in me the fear about fear and about childbirth, and I felt a lot of rage for this death. Because also for me it was difficult to rely on people that I didn't know, doctors. Also at that moment I was starting my path in Nonna di Meno, that is a national network of feminist groups, collectives, associations. And we started to write a feminist plan against gender and male violence. This plan was written during 1 year, almost 1 year, about 1 year, and we have set up different discussion tables because patriarchal violence is systemic, so it involves many different aspects, and these discussion tables were about work, education, sexism in social movements, and also about health. And after the death of this woman, I decided to follow the discussion tables about health. In that moment, during this path, I understood which is the situation in Italy about abortion access, and also I knew about the activism in the pro-choice activism that is not only the campaigning but also the practical help the practical help to have an abortion. Sorry for my English. I was very fascinating for all these things that I was knowing, and also I started to make my own researches, and I met some different groups in Italy and also in other European countries. I met Zara Dil, that is an activist from Chochabasha. That is a group that works in Berlin and help women and pregnant people from Poland to get an abortion in Berlin. I met Mara Clark from Abortion Support Network, and I think this is the group that started this kind of practical activism in Europe. Mara Clark, she's an American woman, and she started this kind of activism in America before coming in London. And it was very, very super inspiring. I called my project Sisters because I see in all these practices sisterhood, and it was so inspiring that I started with other women and people a group in Bari, an abortion support group in Bari, because also here there are the 89% of consensus objectors. So there is a huge need for someone to ask for help. It's strange to speak without listening, but I will continue. And during the work for this documentary, I built my own opinion about abortion. She's a cat, and of course, abortion is a tricky argument because it deals with life and death, and above all about perspective. And starting from the feminist point that the personal is political, I decided to share my experiences with you. So I had two pregnancies. The first was desired. so I have a daughter. When I knew that I was pregnant, I was very super happy, and for me that embryo was already a child, was my child. After 2 years, I had another pregnancy, but it was very different because I didn't want to be pregnant. And I felt it was a terrible experience. I felt like in a cage. But I had a miscarriage, and I felt very relieved for this miscarriage, because I really didn't want to be pregnant, to have a child. So I told you about this experience because anti-choice people who are against abortion, and pro-choice people fight. It's something like the fighting about the concept of what is life and when starts life during a pregnancy or not. Of course, abortion is also a topic that touches, it's exploited by conservative political groups. It touches nationalism and the fear of the extinction of the native race, but also, of course, it touches the role of women in societies, the care work that women do, the free care work that women do, and in my opinion, also the objectification of women's bodies. And just another point, little point. I had some problems. I faced the difficulties to raise the money to make my documentary. I also took part in an industry program to funds social documentaries. But it seemed that stories that are extremely tied to women are less interesting and so less saleable. And it's no accident that women's stories are underrepresented in cinema. Maybe because women don't represent humanity. Men do it, quoting Simone de Beauvoir and her book, The Second Sex. If there's some question, or I'm sorry, but I can listen. So so that's if there's
any question?
something.
Chiedo se ci sono domande. Sorry. Do you have any question that you want to ask Marianna? To Marianna.
She's gonna talk more about her work and about how did she find the people that she films in her documentary.
How did she find the people? How did you find the people for your documentary?
So I found activists looking Italian activists, thanks to this network that I said before, Una di Meno, and the activists of in Germany, but also in the Netherlands, in England. Non so come si dica catena, but I made a research and found the website of Women Help Women, that is an international organization that work with a lot of groups worldwide, and I saw that Ciocia Basia worked with people from Poland, so I wrote to Ciocia Basia, and Zaradil told me about Mara Clark, and then I started to follow their work, and also, for example, people in Malta. I found the activists in Malta thanks to the social network, because there is there are pages of groups from Malta. Then I wrote them and told about my project, so I could meet them and follow them in some events, very important events.
Okay, I think we pass to the other artist, and then if you want to connect with her, I give you a contact. Grazie Mari, passiamo a Tita adesso. E se qualcuno...
Okay, thanks, and thanks. Bye.
Okay. So did Mariana leave? No, okay. So I will invite now Tita. I will say just some words about her work. Tita, adesso semplicemente faccio una piccola descrizione e poi mostriamo noi il tuo teaser e poi puoi parlare. So Tita is an artist between theater and photography. She is the artistic co-director of the big international Bari Gender Festival. We can show her teaser.
Se você aí, macho discreto, chega mais, cola aqui, vamos bater um papo reto. Eu não tô interessada no seu grande pau ereto. Eu gosto mesmo é das bichas, das que são afeminadas, das que mostram muita pele e rebolam, sai maquiada. Eu vou falar mais devagar, pra ver se consegue entender. Se tu quiser ficar comigo, boy, vai ter que enviar descer. Envia descer. Ai meu Deus, o que é isso que essas bichas tão fazendo? Pra todo lado que eu olho, tão todos descendo. Ai meu Deus, que é isso que essas bichas tão fazendo? Pra todo lado que eu olho, tão todos descendo. Mas não tem nada a ver com gostar de rolo, não. Pode vir, cola junto as transviadas, sapatão, bora envia descer. Até arrastar a bunda no chão. E aí, as bichas ficam maluca. Além de enviar descer, tem que bater a bunda na nuca. E aí, as bichas ficam maluca. Além de enviar descer, tem que bater a bunda na nuca.
will also speak a little bit in Italian. She speaks Italian and I will translate for her. Tita, sei lì?
Sì, sono qui. Buonasera a tutte e a tutti. Grazie per questo invito e grazie Marialuisa per questa traduzione simultanea.
So,
allora io arrivo...
Tita, aspetta un
Sì,
attimo,
sì, vai.
quindi traduco ogni piccola frase così. So yeah, good
Okay.
evening to everybody. It is interesting because in Italian we have tutti is for men and tutte, so she specified good evening to tutti and tutte. Tutte is female. In English we don't have this distinction. And so she says, thank you for listening to me and having me here. Okay.
Diciamo, la mia esperienza parte dal teatro in rapporto alla fotografia e attraverso, diciamo, i miei lavori ho spesso indagato le questioni femminili e soprattutto il corpo e l'autorappresentazione del corpo femminile.
So her experience between theater and photography is coming from the investigation on the through the experience. Then she investigates through the relation with body art and female body.
Dal 2015, diciamo, tutta la mia attenzione, soprattutto la mia pratica,
From 2015, all her practice
si è focalizzata sulla creazione, sulla nascita del Big,
was
insieme a...
focused on the creation of this festival, on the foundation of this festival, Big Gender Festival.
Che è un festival ovviamente non solo fatto da me, ma è un festival fatto in collaborazione con un altro codirettore, quindi un maschio, Miki Gorizia, e con uno staff molto giovane anche.
And this festival is a collaboration between Tita and Miki, a man. And also they collaborate with a team of young people.
È un festival di cinema e performance che nasce per indagare le questioni intorno all'identità di genere, agli orientamenti sessuali.
And it is a festival who aim to investigate the relation, the gender roles and the identities and the sexual orientation.
Quindi in pratica è come se la curatela di questo festival è diventata nel tempo, diciamo, un modo di indagare delle prospettive privilegiate.
So also by curating this festival, then this already became a practice, a privilege to investigate these. A way to investigate this.
Quindi nel tempo ci siamo rese conto che il sistema che andavamo a, diciamo, coinvolgere con il Big era un sistema che aveva comunque una visione fortemente occidentale, eteronormata ed eteropatriarcale.
And so in the moment they were starting to investigate all this system, they just realized how Western it was, hetero-patriarchal, white, suprematist, like was everything structured in this way in the Western society.
Bari è un territorio che si trova appunto, lo sapete, nel sud Italia, e quindi queste dinamiche sono molto chiare, molto forti, sin, diciamo, dalla tenera età.
So these dynamics, patriarchal dynamics, are, as I said before, are so strong and visible in southern Italy. And since she is a child, she knows she's dealing with these dynamics.
E quindi il festival è diventato ben presto un progetto più ampio, un processo, ed è quasi diventato una sorta di presidio diffuso nella città di Bari, proprio atto a provare a rompere queste dinamiche.
So this festival, as in these years, became a space, a chance to break this pattern, this dynamic. Through this festival, then all these practices are important to, these practices are seen as a process to bring these patterns, to subvert patriarchal system.
Abbiamo compreso sin da subito che da sole non andiamo da nessuna parte e quindi abbiamo aperto quelle che noi chiamiamo alleanze sia sul territorio e sia sul territorio nazionale. Infatti siamo in collaborazione con molti festival LGBTQI+ italiani.
They also realized then, by going through this process, how important it was to work in collaboration also with other platforms and with other festivals to make this strong this strong complicity between them. As Marianna said about sisterhood.
Negli anni, diciamo, abbiamo compreso perfettamente che la questione femminista per il nostro festival è anche è soprattutto una questione transfemminista, perché per noi, diciamo, il soggetto donna non è unicamente il soggetto biologico.
She's also focusing on how important it is to be trans feminist and not only feminist, because it's not only about women, but also about other gender roles.
Un altro aspetto interessante del BIG è che il discorso si fa sempre intersezionale, perché la lotta al patriarcato, la lotta ai diritti della comunità, la lotta dei neri hanno la stessa matrice, vale a dire un sistema che si fonda su una visione prettamente colonialista. Alla matrice del colonialismo esiste inevitabilmente questa visione, no, occidentale, posso dire maschile, anche se il maschile non appartiene solo al genere maschile.
It is important also, to say that it is not patriarchy is a big container also for racism, sexism, and it is the male power, like not man power, but it's the domination of this male archetype, male power. And so it is important to call it as an intersectional, like where all these rights, like human rights and all these things coexist in the same vessel.
E quindi inevitabilmente la lotta al patriarcato, come a tutte le altre, diciamo, sopraffazioni, parte da un processo di decolonizzazione dell'approccio all'altro.
This relation, and so the fight for patriarchy is about decolonization.
Quindi il BIG propone delle pratiche alternative, delle pratiche condivise, e lo fa soprattutto attraverso le arti che abbiamo preso in considerazione, che sono il cinema e la performance, che sono spazi privilegiati in cui è possibile indagare.
They decided to choose as languages the one of the cinema, of the film, and performances, which are good spaces, privileged spaces to make this investigation.
È anche molto importante l'aspetto, diciamo, didattico, perché crediamo fortemente nel coinvolgimento delle nuovissime generazioni, parliamo di under 18, e quindi c'è proprio questo aspetto all'interno del BIG, che è Big School, dove ogni anno, durante l'anno, diciamo, attiviamo dei processi condivisi con delle classi e appunto indaghiamo le questioni all'interno della famiglia, le questioni rispetto al sistema.
Big is not only about the period of the festival, but through the whole year, spreading the whole year, they also have this program called Big School in Schools, where they can bring this topic and work with it, with young people under 18s, where patriarchy is in family, in schools. It's very important to work there.
Marialuisa, mi piacerebbe un po' colloquiare, non credo, no? Mi piacerebbe se ci fossero delle domande.
Chiedo se ci sono delle domande. She is asking if you have some question to her. Do you have some? Da quando avete iniziato a lavorare su questo, il festival? Da quando
è iniziato? Il festival è nato nel 2015 con un piccolo finanziamento di quello che si chiama la Puglia Film Commission, e poi negli anni comunque abbiamo anche l'appoggio delle istituzioni, quindi oggi è un festival finanziato dalla Regione Puglia.
They started in 2015 with little fund, little money, and then in these years has become more supported by other institutions and from the local institutions, and now it's becoming more consistent, also the support. And any other question? I think it's also important maybe to go to the other artist. Tita, visto che appunto il tempo... ora passiamo... Ti ringrazio intanto.
Grazie. Io vi saluto perché vado.
Per il tuo contributo. She say hi, she has to leave. And we say hi to her. Ti salutano tutti.
Ciao.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Okay. And now I would also like to invite Leo and Men, in this case, which is very important also to have different points, since we know about feminism, we know how feminism as movement is important also, so women always have fight against, like they have fight for their rights, and they have tried to work and to fight to subvert this pattern of patriarchy. But I think it's very important also to know how men can fight for this, how men can change and can bring this topic also from their side. And because I think patriarchy, it's not only me thinking, this is like patriarchy is not based only on how woman can be a victim. There is no victim here, but it is like, it is not only about a woman. I'm just realizing that I didn't play the composition at the beginning, but I can play it later, which is important because I made this composition interview in the park where I was asking people what did they think about patriarchy, and then it was interesting because a man answered, I feel the weight of patriarchy. I feel the weight because I have to be strong, a strong man. I have to hide my feelings. I have to bring the money. And so he said, of course, women have less power, less rights, but it is also about like how we live these dynamics play. And so it is interesting for me. I would like to invite Leo. He has a lot of experience in anti-patriarchal practices. And so I will just make a little introduction. Leo Kay from London is an artist working in socially engaged live art. His current practice is the bakery of slow ideas, propose a resistance to hyperproductivity and hyper-individualism, through creating collective spaces to rest, digest, dialogue, make ritual, ferment vegetables, and bake sourdough bread. is lead artist in the long-term collaboration Unfinished Business with Anna Smith. So, Leo, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about my practice. It's the first time that it has been framed as an anti-patriarchal practice, but I see a lot of correlations and I understand why I've been invited. The first thing that I'd like us to do is for us all to stand up for a minute. And so if anyone is on live watching this at home, I'd really love us all to just stand up for a second. We've been sitting still for an hour and a half, and we've been watching people, and that's been wonderful and very interesting and inspiring. But I'd love us just to shake out our hands here and shake them in front of our eyes so that we can't see them. Shake them as hard as we can, a little bit harder, so you put your body into it, put your shoulders into it, shake them a little bit harder so you actually involve yourself in the movement. And now look around the room that you're in, look all over the room. So you're not looking at me, you're looking up and down and all around, and you're taking in the space and getting out of your head and breathe into your stomach. Deep breaths into your stomach. Brilliant. Keep going, and now come back and look at your hands. Look at your hands and shake them a little bit more. And then hold the hands in front of you and feel the tingling in your fingers and feel your life energy. Feel yourself rooted in your body and know that everyone else who did this is feeling the tingling in their fingers wherever they are. And place your hands on your belly and feel yourself. And know that I'm feeling myself where I am. And just rub your belly a little bit. And rub the back. And just wake up the adrenal glands and your kidneys. We're moving into winter. And so we just want to wake our bodies up and give ourselves a little bit of love, give ourselves a little bit of care, and be present with each other. All right. You can sit down. Thank you. So I about 10 or so years ago, I made a solo about my dad and my granddad. And it was about coincidence, and it was about migration, and it was about belonging and about life and death. And I did it in a small room for 15 people at a time. And it had storytelling and dance theatre and live music, collaboration with a Brazilian artist, two artists, Pedro Lima and Carlão Alex Teixeira da Silva. And I invited the audience to toast with me and to play cards with me and to write about their memories of their lives. And the reason why I did this was because I started to feel uncomfortable with the relationship that I had with the audience, which was me on stage presenting to the audience and the audience passively experiencing my work and my ideas. And I wanted the work to be more of a shared experience. And that sort of started my journey. I fell off stage, I fell into broken spaces or community spaces, or bed sits or town halls or churches. And I started to look at how I could get audiences in the space with me as participants, and how their input could be important for the work. And in 2017 or 16, in fact 2015, I found myself moving towards adrenal fatigue and in a possible state of burnout. I was working too much, and I was I had a couple of things that were difficult in my life. And so I wound down the company practice that I was working with Anna Smith, my partner in crime, who produces the work that we make. I wound down the work that we were doing together, and I had the opportunity to do some artistic research. And I took this sense that I needed to stop and to slow down into the research. And I took a question surrounding my unearned privileges as a white, male, heterosexual, middle-class European into the research. And I asked whether there was a necessity for my voice in art, and if there was, then where did I place myself? And if there wasn't, then what did I do with my work and my days, my life? And I also took into it an investigation into ritual practices that I'd been doing for many years, but the idea that ritual was an opportunity for going deeper into an experience rather than doing many, many experiences. And so I started to look at hyperproductivity and the collateral damage of that being fatigue and burnout on a personal, social, and ecological scale. And I developed the practice that I'm working with, which is called the Bakery of Slow Ideas. And it's a participatory practice where everyone bakes and makes ritual and dialogue and slows down and looks at rest and self-care and care for each other. And there are several elements of it that I feel are important for this dialogue for me. There's a foundation of a concern for breaking down the imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchal system, as it's sort of spoken about by bell hooks. And they do come together. They are intersectional problems that we experience within our culture. And the way that I have found to attempt at breaking that or to questioning it is to recognize that we are being pushed in a certain direction within our system. A direction that does not breed a healthy relationship to the world around us and the world within us and each other and the more than human world. And so, and this for me is, as Tita spoke about, is a process of decolonization. And the problems as I experience them can be seen to stem from the agricultural revolution or from, and further forward from the colonial process. And the state of that the idea that there is a essential position which can stand outside of reality and look at what is going on and judge it from a position that is higher and more in control. And therefore, if they can create a hierarchy of worth and place things below them, they can then justify abuse and extraction. And this is what I see as occurring for all marginalized peoples within our culture, be they women, trans, gay and queer people, people of color, Black people, disabled, or people with different bodies, neurodiverse, so many different ways in which we can marginalize and reduce other people and therefore justify actions of abuse within our culture. And so I wanted to resist that within this work, and that's really what I aim to do, which is create spaces which respect deep listening, a way of listening which does not immediately impose an oppositional position or a position of connectivity. So you do not immediately go into a knee-jerk reaction of agreeing or disagreeing, but you allow difference to live within the space with you. And a reduction of this hierarchy, a reduction, a recognition that this is a lie built to justify abuse. Within my practice, I've also got a work that I'm developing called Men Baking Bread. And that's about men coming together and doing these processes and looking at whether we can disentangle our relationship to this system of oppression and recognizing the benefits that we gain from it naturally. And whilst I was doing the research for that, I got in touch with my uncle and asked him about my grandmother and her life, and I interviewed him. And he said, no, there's nothing. I can't tell you anything about your grandmother. I can tell you all about your grandfather. And he started telling me about my grandfather. And I was like, no, but I really would like to know about my grandmother. He goes, oh, no, she was looking after the kids whilst your granddad was doing all these things. And I think that's sort of very telling of the culture that we live in. Reproductive labor, social reproduction. These are questions that continuously they suggest themselves to me, and I feel like in our culture it is a continual act of decolonization and a continual act of the recognition that we live in this imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist system, a remembering, a continual daily remembering, an attempt to confront ourselves with our own prejudice, with our own racism, with our own sexism, and apologize and learn together, and be willing to fail that can in some way make space for possible difference in the future. When I was also researching this, I had a conversation with a friend of mine. I had baking dialogues with some women as research for this Men Baking Bread. And a woman talked to me about this social reproduction and social labor. And she spoke of her husband, and she sort of said, well, yeah, I do all the organizing. She was a producer, and she said, but why wouldn't I? I mean, why wouldn't you allow me to do that if it was easier for you and easier for me in the short term, just to get on and do it? And, you know, I realized that when we were reaching burnout or adrenal fatigue those years ago, Anna, who's my, you know, my long-term collaborator and one of my best friends, was taking on a massive share of the administrative responsibilities. And I also had all my responsibilities, but I knew somewhere inside me that I wasn't taking on the responsibilities, a fair share of the responsibilities. And it became clear to me this year or late last year that that was the case. And so it's a continual attempt to confront these processes and recognize in what way we are part of this system that will change the system. Are there any questions at this point. I think that I've probably spoken enough at the moment.
Thank you, Leo. Yeah, there are some questions. Yeah.
How well is this program of man baking?
We didn't think about the microphone. No.
Perhaps you can just repeat it. How well is this program of man baking bread received in the community?
How well?
How well is it received?
Can you hear, Leo?
No, I can't. No,
better
no.
with
hello.
the, with
Ah,
the
great.
microphone.
Does
Yeah.
it work? Hi. Yeah, the question is, how well is this program of men baking bread received in the community?
I haven't done it yet. So I haven't found a context yet. I haven't applied for residencies as of yet where I can actually explore it. I've been exploring it over the last year slowly and researching it. So the Bakery of Slow Ideas has been out on many community programs and art residencies and projects within communities around England and around Europe. And another project, Sauerkraut Spell Making, which is also part of the bakery, also looks at spell making and reclaiming of DIY processes, but making sauerkraut. Yeah, Men Baking Bread hasn't yet come out, hasn't yet had an opportunity.
Any other questions? Do you? Yeah. Can you also? So Leo can see her.
Yeah, I can see.
Thanks very much for your talk. Yeah, I just wanted to ask a bit more about the process, like as a kind of collaborative thing between the participants. How is that started with? Is it with sharing recipes or following a demonstration, or is it the dialogue that is kind of documented? So what aspect of collaboration is in these food workshops that you do?
Thank you. So the process starts with everyone gathering, everyone has a separate table and everyone has the ingredients to make spelt and rye flour sourdough, and a mother. And I talk through a process of introduction and storytelling, and then I invite them to engage in a ritual process of of expressing gratitude for things surrounding a theme. And so each day is based on a theme. And it goes through a process of having opportunities for them to both make ritual and dialogue and articulate their relationship to that theme. And we use the process of making sourdough as the rests and the pauses for the fermentation. And so the metaphor of making the sourdough is an active process throughout a 6-hour process, at the end of which we bake a loaf of bread each. So you follow the dramaturgy of making a loaf of bread, and you make the loaf of bread, and within the rest periods we process together, we digest together, and they have opportunities for sharing their stories, for articulating their opinions surrounding an issue. And yeah, it's a sort of organic process. There's also in the afternoon, there are certain creative actions that they can do in the longer rest of the bread.
And I assume you get to eat it all together as well.
You do post and pre-COVID, you do. Within COVID, you take it home and do your own thing.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you. Other question? Okay, I think, okay, we can maybe now go on with, thank you, Leo, for your contribution, and thank you. It's very inspiring for me, your work. And I also loved this thing that we did at the beginning, because yes, actually all these rules with COVID, like sometimes that don't let us be more together. Like today, I wanted us to be in a circle and to be together, but I can understand, of course. And it's good that we did it, that it happened. So thank you.
Hi.
And thank you, Leo. And I think we go toward an end. And I think, yeah, I thought about a little ritual. Leo, you decide if you wanna, like, if you can stay, I'd like you to be here with us. And so I'm going to do a little ritual. As you all can see, there is a little table there with some elements, because all this work here, as I said before, there are many layers and many forms of the work together with people. So we have, there are radio shows where I use this opportunity to work and to present some compositions, to interview some people like in the park, or to have some guests and we talk together, we make some collaboration. And there are also meeting workshops. And like, for example, at the end, on the 3rd and on the 4th of December, there will be these 2 days of performances, also with the other people taking part of the process in Eigenheim Gallery. And so I was saying there are all these layers, and also one part of this process is one of the ritual. Like we had a first initiation with the fire. We had the fire in the garden of the University of New Delhi. We had this big fire together, all together, and it was very inspiring. We felt as a little community, it was good in the beginning to have this. And we work with the element of fire, which it was very important to start with. Fire as an element who can help us to create, to cook the process. And so fire was important to inspire our work. And then we had another ritual. It was not here in Weimar, but it was in Venice, in Venezia, for the Biennale. We had this ritual with soil and flowers and seeds. I asked people to build together, to make this symbolical act, to build together a sacred space. Like ritual are sacred spaces that we have for ourselves, where we can activate in that moment something. We can break these archetypes and make this little sacred ritual to connect, because with some actions we really connect with elements, and sometimes words are too demanding. Words are sometimes just keeping us far from the ground, from our belly. So I think it is also important then to work also in this way, which can be spiritual. And so today, I said before, so in Venice it was about with soil and seeds. I gave some almonds to people, and I asked them to plant their almond in the soil, like they were symbolizing their wish for a space to be together in a community. And today I brought salt. I will tell you what salt represents. I brought some flowers. I brought the candle, which is symbolizing fire, because fire is always there with us. Fire is the master of the process. So we need fire to cook our process, to renew it all the time, and to get inspiration. And so fire is there. There is also tobacco, which is important to give direction to our wishes, to our intent. And we have some flowers for the beauty of that we can put together, and as a wish for our practices together. So then I will go there and I will read you a little text, and I will ask you to come together, to come here, to stand. Yes? Good. And I will put it here. Yeah, I can do it. Okay. Is it okay? Can you hear me? Or do you want me to put it closer, like this? Okay. So I will ask you to make a little circle, if it is possible. Yeah, like keeping the space. Maybe you want to wear the mask. It's better, so we can also be careful. I will also wear it, so we are all. And can you hear me as well? So I ask you to close your eyes and to feel your feet, how they are landing to this floor, and to feel all the body, the gravity, how the gravity is affecting us, and our breath. We just think about our body. We are here in this beautiful room, in this space. And I will read you this little test. The roles and postures assigned to women and men are passive receptive and active initiator, the ones of being acted upon being reactor, and the other ones being strong, invasive. Across religion, men have always been represented as the strong ones who can lead and teach and sways the power and male force acting towards the erosion of community. These are patriarchal archetypes of woman and man, strong and weak, and we want to break these patterns. We want to be all initiators of a community, an healthy community. Rituals are symbolic acts of reconnection to a sacred dimension. By defining a sacred space, we can reveal the real, recreating a certain order, a cosmic order, by giving meaning to human life. As sacred or liturgical calendar repeat the act of creation, as the gods performed it as Platonic forms, give intellectual meaning to physical act and philosophical ideas. So we give sacredness to these elements and to this act. With this ritual, we recreate the order. We want to live inside our space, sacred space. We allow the possibility for evolution more than revolution. If the archetypes are distillates of human experiences, they should evolve as human experience change. All these require awareness. A man or a woman is a smaller arrangement called cosmos, which all things in nature are proportionally represented. The microcosm of the human being is a microcosm of nature, is also a mineral, a soil, seed, water, fire, earth, air. The psychological and physical substantiality of these elements enter into the composition of the human being. The microcosm of human being, the macrocosm of nature, requires micro-macro awareness. Alchemy usually tells where we may find the substances we need. Salt is in our internal microcosmic world. Descend into ourself for us to carry it with us. This is a metaphoric soul, a mineral common to all of us, salt of our everyday life. is the substrate of what is meant by commonly human, is the archetype of sense of common, and a common sense. With this ritual, we activate the image of salt as a stable basis of life, its earth, ground, body. The qualities of salt are representing our substance and essence in the correspondence between microcosm and macrocosm. Our inner life is part of the natural world order. Salt belongs to psyche, something that is mattering in us and is the matter with us. Too much, too little salt, or salt at the wrong times. Salt is contaminated by the materials, vessels, and operations with which it is in interaction. Salt is imagined as soul, here, the center of the earth, the coagulatory agent, the natural balsam of the living body. Its blood, tears, refers to feeling. And so I ask you to, again, to connect with your breath. And to be together aware of this night, of this little step, of this night where we talk about something that is need to be called. And so we are all witnessing, we are all together willing to build a little circle of awareness and support. And we are engaging with our souls in this. It is a moment after I have seen of the rare entertainment of your eyes. I've been fooled to fancy I have been with your peculiar love, my heart made wide. A moment when my glassy darkness holds, and the genuine apparition of your smile. It was through tears, always, and silent smiles. Such strangeness as was mine a little while. And I see the white sage is a Californian plant used to protect the space, to protect our energy. And I like to use these little elements to represent some sacredness. And there are also these flowers. Holunder is in German, Sambuco, which are about the wonder, the beauty we can bring in our life. So I see these elements as other elements that we will have in this process going with Diana. Here there are some people taking part to this process. Diana, Valeria, Mudassir, and no one else is here. Lefteris. So thank you. I want to thank Ulrike for hosting us in this space, and all the artists, Leo, and sorry, sometimes I'm very bad with these things, but Leo is there. And I still need to digest the process. And so, thank you, Leo, thank you, Tita, thank you, Marianna, and the Radio Art Weimar Residency. I also ask you if you like to listen to every 2 Mondays there are these radio broadcasts called Allow Aloud, and from 10 to 11 in the night in Bauhaus FM. The next one will be on the 29th of November. And thank you all for being here, for listening, and for being all here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you also. Yeah? You want to say something? And thank you also, we had a live stream, so also to the people who were there. And thank you to Lefteris. There are some... Marialuisa, oh nice. And thank you to Lefteris, who is curating the technique, everything is administrating, is always there, present.